Good morning, Andrews. Wow, so many of you here. It's pretty scary. But I really want to give thanks to all the speakers who have been sharing beautiful stories and their testimonies. I have been really blessed. And my name is Nathanael. I'm a religion major, and I'm really, really passionate about missions. And it all happened because of this exact week of prayer 3 years ago when, I'm not sure how to spell his name, but when Ty Putzlep was one of the speakers here, his sermons about Paul's missionary journeys were so powerful that God started building a desire in me to become a missionary too. And so I decided to go to Pohnpei. Pohnpei is a really small island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And today what I want to talk about is very personal to me. And it's something that I have experienced, and I feel a deep desire to share it with you. And it's very simple. And all the sermons I've heard in the past few weeks, they seem to address the same or similar message. And I believe that many of you will be able to relate and hopefully feel encouraged. And so I'm going to start with a short phrase for you to remember. And it's God empowers the powerless to be his powerful instruments. And throughout my life, I've been carrying a heavy burden. I struggled with self-doubts, I struggled with insecurities, and I struggled with fears. I battled to believe that I am chosen and that God can work through me and that the desires he gave into my heart that he can make them possible. And so to give you a bigger picture, I'm going to share with you a few stories. I want to thank Reno for sharing a beautiful story about Moses. I'm going to talk about Moses too, but a little bit from a different perspective. Moses was a chosen man from God, and God miraculously saved his life. Moses grew up wealthy, and he could get anything he could think of. He was raised to be a ruler of Egypt. But it was not good enough for him, so he decided to go against the flow by serving God and by saving Israel. And so one day he witnessed a conflict between Egyptian and Israelite slave, and Moses could not resist and used his power to settle the conflict. And it didn't take long, and he realized that he's in trouble. And he had to flee the country, and he thought that his mission was over. He got discouraged, and he lost his confidence. And after years being alone in the desert and doing nothing but being a shepherd, he heard God speaking to him. And so I'm going to read from Exodus chapter 3, 9 to 12. And it says, "Look, the cry of the people of Israel has reached me. I have seen how harshly the Egyptians abused them. Now go, for I am sending you to Pharaoh. You must lead my people, Israel, out of Egypt." But Moses protested to God, "Who am I to appear before Pharaoh? Who am I to lead the people of Israel out of Egypt?" And this was not the first time. Second time, verse 13. But Moses protested, "If I go to the people of Israel and tell them, 'The God of your ancestors has sent me to you,' they will ask me, 'What is his name?' Then what should I tell them?" Third time, chapter 4, verse 1. "What if they won't believe me or listen to me? What if they say, 'The Lord never appeared to you'?" Fourth time, "Oh Lord, I'm not very good with words. I never have been. I'm not now. Even though you have spoken to me, I get tongue-tied and my words get tangled." And fifth time, "Lord, please, please send anyone else." Moses was making excuses referring to his inability to speak. He just thought that he's not the one. He was asking God to send someone else. But when he ran out of arguments, God's call stood stronger. And so he took off and went. In his hand, he had his shepherd's staff, which was a sign of God's power supporting his mission. When he met Aaron, they fell into each other's arms, and the mission of saving Israel was about to begin. And now let me ask you a question. Do you believe that Moses was chosen? I do believe that Moses was chosen. And what he thought was powerless, did God use it as his powerful instrument? Yes. And now let me share you another story. Jeremiah, on the contrary of Moses, grew up as a poor boy. In his young age, God spoke to him. In verse 1, chapter 4 to 10. Then the Lord gave me this message. I knew you before I formed you in your mother's womb. Before you were born, I set you apart and appointed you as my prophet to the nations. O sovereign Lord, I said, I can't speak for you. I'm too young. The Lord replied, don't say I'm too young, for you must go wherever I send you and say whatever I tell you. And don't be afraid of the people, for I will be with you and I will protect you. I, the Lord, have spoken. The verses indicate a certain degree of insecurity, and Jeremiah did not believe himself. He was definitely not ambitious, and as you can see from Moses' story, it is not the first case in the Bible. And so perhaps at times God does not look at ambitions and popularity, but prides to work with human instruments that are viewed useless by the world. And so God knew the future of Jeremiah, and he indicates that there will be difficulties as Jeremiah will speak God's words, but God will deliver him. God sets clear boundaries that he is responsible for fulfillment of the prophecies, not Jeremiah. Then the Lord said to me, as he says, you have seen well, for I am ready to perform my word. And so in eyes of Israel, Jeremiah was a loser, not a prophet, because his words that God gave to him were not what Israelites wanted to hear. And Jeremiah wanted to give up. As he says in chapter 20, verse 9, but if I say I'll never mention the Lord or speak in his name, his word burns in my heart like a fire. It's like a fire in my bones. I'm worn out trying to hold it in. And so from human point of view, his career was one failure after another. People thought he was a loser. They thought he was a false prophet and imprisoned him for what he said. Now let me ask you another question. Do you believe that Jeremiah was chosen? I do believe that Jeremiah was chosen. And what he thought was powerless, did God use it as his powerful instrument? Yes, I do believe that. And so I'm really thankful for my family, for my parents. I'm really thankful for the way they raised me. Since my very early age, I really loved God, and God was my hero, and Christian values were really important to me. However, I also grew up in a tough environment, and not that the environment was poor or dangerous, but it was just simply messed up. There was no purpose in the community I grew up. There were not many Christians, and people did not know about God. And the weekly activities of the youth would be just to get over school finally, and during the weekend just party, drink, smoke, or who knows, whatever they were doing. And so I went to public school, and all my classmates didn't even know who Jesus was. And when I was getting older, there was something I did not understand. I was different and I just couldn't fit in. My values and their values were so contradicting that I started to question myself. What am I doing? Is it worth it? Why can't I live a normal life? You see, so everyone was doing these crazy things that had no purpose, and I could not do it because I've seen how destructive it was, and yet I started to doubt myself. My self-esteem went down, and I was a total weirdo, really quiet and not interesting at all. It was difficult for me to approach and talk to people. I was so close to adapting these habits, so close giving up to live a certain lifestyle where I did not see any purpose. But there was a fire in me, like Jeremiah had. I just couldn't do it. And so, long story short, as we all grew up and matured a little bit, somehow my friends started noticing that me and my brothers are different. They started noticing that there is a reason for there's a reason why we live the way we live. They saw something better than they had. and they wanted it too. They started asking us questions and were interested about our lives. They joined our little youth group, and on Sabbath mornings, they would want to learn more about God. And the beautiful thing is that eventually they would get baptized. And after that, they would bring more people. And the best part of it is, the whole time I thought that I was a loser. The whole time I thought that I was useless, without realizing that God was already working through my life and through my brother's life to show our friends a better life. And so it's interesting that sometimes we look at all the Bible characters as holy ones and heroes, and yet they were exactly the same as you and me. Broken, insecure people, and yet God uses us to change others' people's lives. And so going to Pohnpei, I went exactly through the same struggles. What if I won't be good enough? I really cared about this mission trip. And as an introvert going to a completely different island with a position that says Bible worker, church planter, Bible teacher, I got immediately nervous even before I got there. I had the idea that I needed to be perfect and super prepared for this position, and I was scared that if I don't get this many baptisms or that many members, my mission won't be fulfilled. I thought I knew myself. I thought I knew where was the limit of my abilities, and I was going to stick with that. However, the first week, I was given a schedule to preach 3 times a week for the whole year. I had to attend funerals. At times it felt like I was losing people instead of gaining people. I had never seen so many dead bodies in my life before. I had to go to hospitals. I had to pray with sick people. I was teaching high school students who were just a few years younger than me. And the list goes on. And it all went so fast that I hadn't even realized that I have crossed every single limit of my capabilities that I thought I knew so well. And after all these crazy experiences, I knew that God was working through me, that He can really use me as His powerful instrument. And so in the midst of all the church responsibilities, as a Bible worker, one of the things you do is to get out and reach people from outside. And so I got involved in one of the public schools in Pohnpei. And I didn't want to go there and just ask them, hey guys, would you like to have Bible studies with me? I felt like that was too pushy and that was too fast. So I decided to start a club there. And through that club, we started singing songs. We started playing sports, volleyball, soccer, basketball, although I suck at it, but basketball is really a favorite sport there. And so weeks were passing by and I was asking God, so when is the right time to ask them if they want to study Bible with me? But I felt like I still needed to wait. And so months were passing by. And one day, one of the friends that I made from high school, they approached me and they asked me, hey, we've seen that you are very passionate about God and we want to know more. Do you want to have Bible studies with us? And it's amazing that some of them would eventually also get baptized. And it's funny, God really works through amazing and sometimes even crazy ways. There was one time when I woke up, again, as a Bible worker, going out, and I don't know how many of you can relate, but for introverts, going out and talking to strangers, going door to door, that's the worst thing you can do for introverts. But yet, still God helped me to get out, and I decided to go to a public library in Pohnpei. And after 2, usually students go there to study and work on their homework because there's AC and it's a cool place to hang out. And so I entered to the public library, and I was praying, God, I really don't feel like talking to anyone. Please send me someone or do something for me. They all were wearing their uniforms. I didn't, so I was everyone was staring at me and I felt uncomfortable. And then one student suddenly approached me. He was sweating and he looked worried and scared. And I took it as an opportunity to get to know him better. So I was asking, how can I help you? What's your name? And he looked at me and told me, hey, there's this girl that I like, and I need you to help me. I'm not going to tell you what I told him, but with God's help, I think I was able to connect with him. You see, and to this day, we are friends. We are connected through Facebook, and we're talking. And I hope that maybe one day I will be able to see him again, and maybe he will be able to give his life to Christ. But God really works through amazing ways. And now let me ask you another question, or maybe it's a question for me. Do I believe that I was chosen? Yes, I do believe that I was chosen. And what I thought was powerless, did God use it as his powerful instrument? Yes, I do believe that. And I hope that through Moses, Jeremiah's, and my own story, you know that when Jesus calls you, it's not you anymore, but it's him. You know that when you are being called, there are no limits of what you can or cannot do. And perhaps God is using me right now to encourage you and show you that despite your brokenness, God will empower you to become his powerful instrument. So don't be scared to become a missionary. It's truly the best year. It's truly the best decision you can make in your life. And for me, it was the best year of my life. But I'll be honest with you. When I was there, at times it felt like it was the most challenging year of my life. And at times it felt like it was the worst year of my life. But when you look at the whole picture after and when you reflect on the whole experience, it was definitely the best year of my life. And I'm going to thrive from it for the rest of my life. And I know that when I'm done with school, I want to continue and I do want to be a missionary. So I hope that you feel encouraged and remember that God will empower the powerless to become his powerful instruments. Let's pray. Wow, Jesus, thank you so much that you are here with us and that you are speaking to us and that you are showing us that although we are broken people and sometimes we have struggles to believe that we are worthy, you still keep proving us that with you anything is possible and that we can do big things, God. So please touch our hearts and encourage us. We love you so much. In your name I pray, amen.